Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the FY-2025 proposed budget address. I see that we're at capacity, so wanted to let everyone know that we do have overflow seating in the tech lounge. There are monitors set up there, and you can hear the budget address from that space. Today, you're going to hear from County Executive Angela Alsobrooks, followed by Deputy Chief of Staff John Erzin.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to our annual budget presentation. Today we will discuss our priorities in the fiscal year 2025. Creating this annual budget requires our government to come together and think hard about our priorities over the coming year. This process requires a great deal of engagement from across our county and a lot of hard work to develop a budget that demonstrates fiscal discipline. I want to thank everyone involved in this process for their input and thank them for their hard work. This year, our total budget grew by 1%. Now, if you can imagine, if you received a 1% raise, that's a change that would not alter your family's budget. And with inflation, it might even feel like a decrease in pay. This year, our county is working hard to move forward with key programs and initiatives while grappling with the deficit. But we are still making progress. When I first came into office, we developed a set of key programs and initiatives that over the last 6 years have become the pillars of this administration. We've called these our proud priorities. They include education, youth development, quality of life supported by high-performance government, economic development, healthy communities, and safe neighborhoods. This year, we are managing a projected budget shortfall of $171 million. Now, there are a few clear factors that have led us here. First, we face greater spending obligations. We've made a strategic investment in workers to retain top talent, and we face automatic formula increases built into programs like the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. The Blueprint for Maryland's Future represents a historic investment by Maryland. Students will benefit from a greater focus on comprehensive services that seek to develop the whole child for generations. Meeting our obligations under the blueprint becomes more expensive every year. We see the long-term value of this additional investment, but we must maintain the fiscal health of our county. As you can see here, the current funding model is difficult to sustain. We want to thank our legislative partners for helping to find a financial solution that gives us the flexibility to meet this challenge. Now, along with these rising costs, we've also seen a decline in revenue. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the federal government took unprecedented steps to support local governments across the nation. Billions and billions of dollars in aid were available to state and local governments that had never been available before. Now these programs have concluded and they're no longer offering aid, and local governments like ours are left with reduced funding. In addition to this normalization process, we're facing historically high interest rates. These higher interest rates impact all areas of the economy, including things like auto loans, home purchases, and construction. And for that matter, new construction and real estate transactions are typically a large source of revenue. This year, we've received lower revenues from transfer and recordation taxes, which are tied to real property transactions. We've also seen a decline in income tax revenue. And although there are some signs, we know that these revenues are beginning to grow. I'll come back to it for a moment, but we are seeing also the decrease in income taxes. So to cover our projected $171 million deficit, we've made very difficult decisions to freeze hiring for over 800 positions within the county. This year's budget includes cuts to almost every county agency except for public safety and the Prince George's County Public School System. Most departments will see a decrease in dollars year over year, and some programs and initiatives will face reductions. But even as we confront this huge deficit, there's still plenty of investments we're making in the future of our community. Have we had to make cuts? Yes. but we've made these cuts in a responsible way that protects our county. We fought to protect services that our neighbors depend on. We called on lawmakers from across the county to help us close our budget deficit. And I want to thank our local delegation for helping us make changes to the local telecommunications and energy taxes. These changes gave us flexibility to cover the rising cost of the blueprint for Maryland's future. They're a tool that will help us to balance the budget in years to come. Without these changes, we could have had much deeper cuts that would have jeopardized our credit rating, our ability to pay salaries, litter pickup, funding for libraries, grants to nonprofits, and summer programs for our children. Education is our top priority for this administration. And even with this legislation, the school system will still receive $53 million additional dollars between the state and the county funds than last year. Yes, that's a smaller increase than the school system was expected, but it is an increase of $53 million combined from the state and the county. But for context, most of our non-public safety agencies are facing cuts. We froze over 800 positions, deferred equipment replacement, delayed capital projects, reduced 19 department budgets, and flat out canceled American Rescue Plan projects to close the gap. And thanks to the tax changes, we've managed to protect key investments that our residents have come to depend on. And we have reason to be optimistic about the future in Prince George's County. The pandemic created historic change. And in Prince George's County, one of those changes was a reduction in income tax revenue. But as I mentioned before, we're seeing that revenue begin to grow again. And it's a sign that our local economy remains strong. Prior to the pandemic, we were the jobs engine of Maryland. We created leading job creation for 5 consecutive years, and we lost all of that progress during COVID-19, but we've gained back all of those jobs. We've adopted policies and supported programs to ensure that Prince George's County remains the economic engine for the state of Maryland. Now I'm confident that we will make it through the difficult budget year in front of us successfully. I'm confident because of companies like Blink, a global leader in vehicle charging devices. When it was time for Blink to move their headquarters out of Miami, they chose Bowie. Just a couple of years ago, one of the world's leading quantum computing companies, IonQ, chose College Park. They just achieved a major breakthrough on quantum computing. And after a decade-long process, the new FBI headquarters will be a part of our community because the General Services Administration chose Greenbelt. Now, it feels like every few weeks when I read the news, I see a story about a new venture, a new opportunity, a new discovery that is happening right here. And this is a tough year for our budget, but the future is bright because time and time again, people choose Prince George's County. Despite the cuts from this year's budget, over the past year, we've made tremendous progress for our residents and our state. And I have to say before I go on, this room is so quiet. We said we're bringing the FBI headquarters to Prince George's County, and we heard nothing. Now, we have opened, even in the midst of all that we have experienced, you should know that over the last 3 years, we have opened 10 new schools. 6 of those were constructed through our nationally recognized public-private partnership model for our residents. And in the next phase, we'll open 8 new schools just this year. So for a grand total, you should know, of 18 new schools in a 6-year period for the benefit of our children right here in Prince George's County. We've also made great progress on our ongoing momentum rollout, which improves the speed and efficiency of our permitting system. We broke ground on 2 major construction projects to replace the Cheverly Health Clinic and the Dyer Health Clinic. These are huge for us as we seek to really close up the healthcare disparity gap in our county. These projects help modernize our health department and establish the first behavioral health crisis stabilization center in our county's history, so that our loved ones who are sick with addiction and who are having crises, that the first people they meet will not be police officers. They're able to take your family member who are in acute crisis to get the care that they need. I want you to know that we have also restored over 6,300 acres of impervious surface helping to improve water quality and protect residents from flooding. We finalized our nuisance flood plan to identify other communities at risk of flooding from extreme weather events. And you all know that that was important because we're seeing 100-year floods every 2 years. So we're taking strides forward for our seniors also and for our families. The Department of Housing and Community Development says we will complete 5 senior and family housing facilities, creating more than 790 new affordable units, and we have more than 840 more coming. We have also increased participation in the WIC program and continue to promote breastfeeding, surpassing the statewide percentages. We have also expanded our electric vehicle fleet and deployed 122 public electric vehicle charging stations, reflecting our fleet's, reducing our fleet's carbon footprint. We've also opened a new building trades and career center in Lanham. And you should know that this is the first American job center located in a union hall in the entire nation. In Prince George's County, we are grateful for the opportunity to work with our union partners who help make sure that our residents' voices are heard. And I was very proud to work with them on this historic project. We also delivered 9 Vision Zero projects to promote pedestrian and multimodal transportation safety. These projects make our streets safer, improve visibility, slow vehicle speeds, and promote pedestrian safety. We've also continued to build a strong digital government by establishing an executive-level cybersecurity officer, an open data system for performance tracking, and other improvements to our digital government. And for the 3rd year in a row, we were named, wait for it, the #1 digital county in the nation by the National Associations of Counties. Huge. And I want to thank Wanda Gibson. I don't know if she's here today, super bad Wanda Gibson, for leading our IT unit and making sure that we had that distinction for 3 years in a row. We've added a full-time veterinarian to the Animal Services Division, and this is the first for animal services. And we've helped to fund the first guaranteed basic income pilot in Prince George's County's history, which provides direct payments to seniors and kids aging out of foster care, and has been proven to improve quality of life and promote long-term employment. Now you'll see here that we have a snapshot of all funds from fiscal year 2023 to our proposed budget for fiscal year 2025. This year's proposed budget represents a 1% increase in revenues over fiscal year 2024. Our proposed expenditures are 1% higher as well. In total, we are proposing a $5.4 billion budget for fiscal year 2025. And you can see as well that we have proposed a $4.57 billion in total revenues, representing a year-over-year increase. This continues a trend in our county, growing revenues, and unfortunately our revenues, as you can see, are not growing quite as fast as we would like. Our general fund revenues break down into a few major categories. The largest source of funds is aid to the Board of Education, followed by property taxes and income taxes. The Board of Education also accounts for the largest expense in our county, followed by public safety. I've said it before, but these budgets do reflect, just like your household budgets, reflect our priorities. And in Prince George's County, we spend 62% of our entire budget on education, on the education of our children, and we also spend 20% of our entire budget on public safety. So we therefore have only 18% of our budget available for all other government operations. So let's take a moment to focus on Board of Education spending. Our fiscal year 2025 budget increases funding for the Board of Education by over $29 million over last year's budget for a total of $2.83 billion. Over $949 million of that comes from the county, which exceeds our obligations under the Blueprint for Maryland's Future and includes $32.6 million for Phase 2 of our P3 school construction projects. Here, we also have a summary of our capital improvement program expenditures. For in-depth information, we're going to make the entire proposed budget available online. And here you can see some of our major expenditures for our capital improvement project. These projects include things like school construction. You'll see bridge and road replacements, flood protection, and renovations to county buildings. We've also set aside funding to move the FBI to Greenbelt. Our FY 2025 budget continues the sound fiscal policies that have earned our county a AAA bond rating. And over the long term, our sound fiscal stewardship will reduce costs. By maintaining a AAA bond rating, we keep our borrowing costs low, which means more tax dollars can be used for programs and for services. This year, we've cut our use of fund balance in half while investing in the proud priorities. And I want to thank Stan Early and the Office of Management and Budget. They have done an absolutely beautiful job. I want to thank them for the work that they have done. And part of our historic education funding includes pre-kindergarten. $50 million of blueprint investments will go directly towards pre-K this year alone. We're also increasing funding for the Prince George's County Community College by 3%, and we funded important youth development and employment programs along with school-based health centers that many of our students depend on. We've increased the budget for the Prince George's County Police Department as well to over $397 million, which is nearly $8 million, or 2% over FY 2024. And of course, I want to thank not only Chief Aziz, who is here today and who has done a marvelous job leading our department. I want to thank him so much. In spite of his affiliation with the Dallas Cowboys, which I never let him forget about, as well as Chief Tiffany Green from Fire Service. I want to thank you so much also for their leadership. And I would be remiss also, we have our super incredible chair and vice chair of our county council. I want to thank Council Member Jolene Ivy so much for her leadership and for being present. And Vice Chair Sidney Harrison, I want to thank you and the council for all the work that you have done as well. So this increased funding that we just spoke about supports 2 recruit classes of 50 in our police department for a total of 100 new police recruits. We also have funding for 2 new crime scene investigators and new incentives for recruiting. We were also able to increase funding for fire and emergency medical services. This year, they will receive over $279 million, and that's a 7% increase over last fiscal year. And this funding will help us bring in 100 new recruits. We're also increasing funding for the State's Attorney's Office by 2.9%, and I want to thank State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy for being present with us today, and thank her also for her leadership. And we've also provided, and there's the Sheriff's Office is being increased by 3.6%. We've also provided over $101 million for the Corrections Department and over $47 million for Homeland Security, which includes the Office of Emergency Management. Now, when I first came into office, we decided to make our government more responsive to the needs of residents. And we've met that goal for residents now, and we'll continue to do so moving forward. This year, we're moving forward with our Vision Zero program to help eliminate traffic fatalities, digitization efforts that make our records and processes more transparent to residents, cybersecurity improvements to help protect our data, money for the Fair Elections Fund, and funding to continue implementing Momentum, a program that is vastly improving the permitting process for our county. We've heard concerns about government contracting, and that's why in this year's budget, we are creating the Office of Procurement to improve service delivery and to continue building a high-quality local vendor ecosystem. We are also making investments in the health of our community, including funding for shelters, addictions and substance abuse, mental and behavioral health. This year, our health department budget is over $87 million, but we've preserved funding for mental and behavioral health, addiction and substance abuse, veteran services, and the health department Strong initiative. And we want to also continue improving the environment in Prince George's County. That's why we're funding our Clean Lots program across the Department of Permitting, Inspections, and Enforcement, as well as related work at the Department of Public Works and Transportation. We're setting aside funds for street sweeping, litter pickup, and clear the curb. Thanks to a new hauling contract, we're also able to expand these programs at a reduced cost to our residents. So we're continuing to invest in our stormwater management fund, which is an important part of our work to make our community more climate resilient. This includes stormwater maintenance and repairs across the county. We're funding our stormwater stewardship grant and rain check rebate programs, which make stormwater management affordable for residents and businesses. And we're funding our Clean Water Partnership to improve stormwater infrastructure and water quality while working with local, small, and minority-owned businesses. In addition to these programs, we're investing in our Climate Action Plan, which includes investments in zero emissions buses, bike share programs, LED bulb conversions, tree planting, and several other initiatives to improve our environment. And over the past few years, we've made historic investments as well in economic development with a long-term goal in mind, and that is reducing the tax burden on our residents by increasing the commercial tax base. Now, I have to tell you, and I've had this discussion so many times for those who are asking, because of course, when I'm in Wegmans and wherever else I am, I see residents who constantly say we are discouraged by the share of residential property taxes that we pay in Prince George's County. What we all recognize is that there is we have an imbalance, which means that we have got to increase commercial taxes so that we alleviate the stress and strain that our residents feel who pay residential property taxes. Right now, the bulk of our budget the revenues are around residential property taxes. And so when you hear us talking about the very important investments we have to make in continuing to grow business and continuing to grow this economy, that's what this is about, is making sure that we are trying to close that imbalance. We know that the investments that we're making also help bring new amenities and opportunities for our residents to enjoy where they live. So this year, we're taking steps to protect our investment in economic development and along the Blue Line corridor. This includes funding for our core economic development agencies, as well as grants for local business assistance, art in public places, and the once-in-a-generation opportunity that we have along the Blue Line corridor. This past fall, a lot of hard work on economic development really paid off when we secured the future site of the FBI headquarters in Greenbelt. Now, this project, along with all of the others that we have across the county, will create a once-in-a-generation economic opportunity for our county. In our fiscal 2025 budget, we took steps to overcome a very large deficit. And in taking this challenge head on, we fought tooth and nail to protect our discretionary funds so that we could provide services that we all depend on every day. Prince George's County has a bright future. We've created greater access to education, greater access to health care, and greater access to new amenities that improve the quality of life for all of us. We've seen billions of dollars of new investments in our community in a short time, and those investments will continue to pay off over the long term. The budget that I have presented here prioritizes programs that make the biggest difference in our lives, both now and in the future. And we've put residents' needs first, exercise fiscal responsibility, and protected working families. With this budget, we will continue to help our county grow and help our county thrive. At this time, I'm going to invite back to the podium John Erzin, and then he will give us instructions about the way that we will go from here.
All right, thank you, everybody. I just want to thank all of you for being here today and taking time out to join us as the county executive has presented her proposed budget for fiscal year 2025. And to those watching online as well, we thank you. I'm sure people have plenty of questions, and we want to have some time for that. For members of the media, I would ask that you follow Taylor Brown, who is in the back there, and she's going to take you to where we're going to set up the press gaggle. The county executive will join you guys for that, and then she will be coming back into this room to talk with everyone and answer any questions that you may have. While we're doing the press gaggle, For those of you who would like to wait and have some time to talk with the county executive, excuse me, we do have several members of our leadership team. We have our chief administrative officer, we have our budget director, obviously several members of our cabinet and senior leadership team. Certainly the leadership of the county council and other members are here as well. We invite you and encourage you to take some time talking with them about some of the questions and thoughts you may have, and we will get the county executive back in the room momentarily. Thank you, everybody.